Welcome to Week 7. Our topic this week is international conservation. CITES is a treaty with experience. CITES stands for the Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora. It is also known as the Washington Convention, as it was signed in Washington, D.C. CITES was signed on 3 March 1973 and entered into force on 1 July 1975. It has been in operation for more than 30 years. Background on CITES. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is the lead agency. NOAA Fisheries coordinates for marine species. The goal is to regulate international trade of species of animals and plants to ensure that commercial demand and international trade do not threaten their survival in the wild. The basis for listing is biological status, management, and role of international trade. Appendix 1 of CITES, species threatened with extinction under CITES criteria, and international commercial trade is prohibited. In Appendix 2, species vulnerable to overexploitation but not at risk of extinction. International trade and harvest on the high seas is permitted and tracked, and export permit requires findings that species was legally acquired and harvest is sustainable. Timeline of key events. October 14, 2009, species proposals were submitted to CITES. November 2009, ICAT annual meeting. December 2, 2009, public meeting on positions. January 4, 2010, public comments were due. And March 13th to 25th, 2010, they met in Doha, Qatar. CITES is a treaty with wide participation. 175 parties participate. Examples of CITES trade: birds of prey, parrots and parakeets, live aquarium specimens, and food fishes. Orchids, cacti and succulents, bulbs such as snowdrops and cyclamens, medicinal plants, ornamental trees, and timber species. The Convention establishes an international legal framework with common procedural mechanisms for the prevention of international commercial trade in endangered species and for an effective regulation of international trade in others. CITES regulates international trade on the basis of a system of permits and certificates. How it works. National legislation to implement CITES must, at the very least, designate a management authority and a scientific authority, prohibit trade in specimens in violation of the Convention, penalize such trade, and allow for confiscation of specimens illegally traded or possessed. The management authority is responsible for the administrative aspects of implementation, such as legislation, permits, annual and biennial reports on trade, communication with other CITES agencies. The scientific authority is responsible for advising the management authority on non-detriment findings and other scientific aspects of implementation and monitoring of national trade. The Convention's participation in the wider international nature conservation arena, as developed since the 1992 Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro, includes such issues as stewardship of natural resources and their use at sustainable levels, safeguarding of wildlife as integral to the global ecosystem on which all life depends, the need for deeper understanding of the cultural and economic issues at play in producer and consumer countries, and wider involvement in civic society in the development of conservation policies and practices. In summary, trade in wild species that threatens species and their ecosystems will ultimately increase poverty for those dependent on those species or the services the ecosystems provide. Trade that is detrimental to species and ecosystems also undermines sustainable development.